What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Brennan, aka Drip, aka the Uchiha Simp, back with another video from Team D.D.D. And in today's video, we have a post Rage of the Abyss pure Shaddoll deck. Shaddoll Dogmatica, that is. There's no invoked, there's no nothing. If you're new to this, like, I guess you can call it series if you want to call it, when it comes to Shaddolls, and you're not a member of the channel and you haven't seen my previous list, I basically took Shaddolls under my wing because I really love the deck, and I really wanted to make them more of a pure version. So I did, and this is what we kind of what we came out with about a couple of months, like 6 months ago, and then we just slowly developed it and adapted to the format. This one is post Rage of the Abyss. I will talk about some things that you could potentially change if you have the money. Obviously, if you don't already know where I'm probably going with that, then yeah. Other than that, this is what I feel is very competitive and very solid for the Rage of the Abyss format. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. If you all do not mind, please hit the like button if you haven't already. Bell notification, and so you never miss an upload, and subscribe while you're at it, so if you're hitting the bell notification. Also, check the description for all the ways to support me, my Patreon, my Discord, and my affiliate link and everything down there as well for TCG Player. Starting it out, all the same as the previous list. This is the best normal summon. Polymerization on legs. You can go full combo on your turn or their turn. 3 Mathematician. I like Mathematician. This card sends anything. There's some weird scenarios in like mid game or past turn 1. You can use this to send this to get access to your Cartesia that way. So this basically tutors out Cartesia as well. So it replaces itself in the form of a normal summon, which is really, really nice. This also, at the end of the day, your game is won and lost through your Shaddoll lineup. That's why we run a thick Shaddoll lineup. So this gets your Shaddolls running if you don't have access to Cartesia, because Cartesia does the same thing, but Mathematician does it if you can't see Cartesia. So that's pretty much why. If you need more explanation, you could check the description for my previous combo video, even though this is a different list because I'm running some different cards, but the combo still remains the same, and the rest of the discussion will remain the same too. Shaddoll lineup, meat of the deck. 3, because you need it. 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1. I put Hound back in. There's too many weird situations where I gotten so adapted to playing with Hound. When I took it out, I actually missed it because I kept like indirectly playing into the lines that Hound would come up. And he came up too much without having him, so I always wanted to have him. Ironically, I had a grind game last week because I actually made it to locals for once. I had a grind game last week where I literally went through all of my dolls. So a lot of people are like, well, why are you playing so many dolls? Isn't that bricky? No, actually it's not, because in this version of the deck, it's not invoked and it's not just Dogmatica with Schism. You actually want to draw your Shaddolls. I actually want to see at least 1 to 2 of my dolls in my hand at all times, and this one's the most important one because if we can't get access to a light target to make construct, then this basically is pseudo construct. Obviously it's just Squam. It's been the OG goated one for years now, forever. I will say though, this I think is a 41 card list. If you have more balls than I do and want to go over 41 and run 42, you can run Nest Shaddoll Genius. Because sometimes that card does come up. It just does not come up as much as Hound does, because how do I explain this? If you use Genius, they can just chain to it. So like it's only good and viable if you are like activated on a card that is not a quick effect or can't chain to it. So like for an example, if like you make a construct or something on your opponent's turn, and then you can send Genius then to turn off, like if you're playing against Fire King, I mean not Fire King, but Snake Eyes, you can send it to turn off their Link 2 from fusing if you wanted to, or you could turn off their Promethean Princess. But if you turn off their Promethean Princess, well, actually no, never mind, I answered my question. You could turn off their Promethean Princess, or you could turn off their Link 2 Fuser or whatever you wanted to prevent them from extending any further. But like for an example, you can't cut something off if it's already activated, because it says your opponent cannot activate the effects. It doesn't says they can't, the effects are not negated, basically, if that makes sense. So like, it's only good in niche situations, and I haven't found myself like needing it more than probably like one time, but I still won the game or without it, if that makes sense. But Hound comes up a lot, definitely in the grind games, and I don't know, I just love Hound. Moving on to the rest of the Shaddoll lineup, 3, and then I'm always back and forth on ratios on this. I put this back to 3. You fuse, you lose, whatever, but that's why, since I added Hound back in, I think it's 11 Shaddolls we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so we have 11 Shaddolls. So like, we have a very high chance of drawing one at least. So it gives us 6 ways to fuse. So, and this being able to extend more on our opponent's turn if we have access to this and Schism anyways is just really nice too. Nothing else needs to be said, really. We've talked about it millions of times. If you know Shaddolls, then you know. 1 Resh, 1 Schism. Resh is necessary, not just for the grind game, but also to like dodge targeting effects and stuff with it being in the graveyard. Everyone should know that by now. Resh is like the garnet of the deck. It's the brick that you have to run, in my opinion. Dogmatica lineup. 1 Ecclesia, 1 Fleur. 3 Nadir. If you see my previous list, you know I don't like Maximus. Maximus is not necessary. It's just win more and requires too much setup, because it also takes 2 spots in your extra deck in the form of Amirage, Secure, Gardena. It's not good. It's really not good. It's really not. It's not necessary anymore. And allowing your opponent to send cards from the extra deck to the graveyard is not optimal either. Yes, it's very solid in theory against like against Snake Eyes, because their extra deck is so tight, and potentially U-Bell as well. But it's just not worth it against Rogue, in my personal opinion. It's just, and like I said, it requires too much setup, and you don't need it, because one of the only reasons we even run this engine is for the Nadir Servant to be able to start our Shaddolls by sending an Abcalone or whatever else. Granted, it can send our Lulu Walleth as well to get the access to the Cartesia or the Ecclesia or whatever, or a couple of other cards in our extra deck too. So we only really run this engine for Nadir Servant, really. And the fact that Ecclesia is bae, so she's my waifu of choice. Moving on. Despite the format, I think these cards are pretty much, depending on the format itself, like, and they're not absolutely needed. I'm like, if I'm forced to run something else, basically, these cards are standard and mandatory moving forward. I cut the second Druid Swarm to keep the deck count down and not the brick. The second Druid Swarm became the Hound, basically. These cards do so much offensively and defensively for us. It's insane. This being able to search these or cards in our side deck. This being able to spot removal, because this is not a hand trap deck. This is not a deck that can really play that many hand traps, even though technically these are. This is a board breaking deck. The deck likes to break boards with engine, and so you want to kind of find non-engine that can kind of do the same, and that's what these cards do. On top of that, Baldrake being able to tribute light or darks is really nice too, because it can tribute if you summon like a construct or a Abcalone, you can use it to this effect to tribute those to proc your Shaddoll effects in graveyard, which is really nice too. Or even your main deck Shaddolls. This triggers them, which they're graveyard effects, which is really, really nasty. And these being 6s to help you make Chaos Angel as well is absolutely just bonkers. So you get so much utility and flexibility out of these cards, and so much mileage. So like, that's why even if we're running a light and dark format, because even using those to banish your own stuff is perfectly fine, because if you set up Ariel can summon back whatever you banished, if it was summoned properly, that is. So like, yeah, it's really nasty. Moving on to the spells. This card is ridiculous. I was kind of iffy about this card, but then I realized what Snake Eyes does, and then this card just eats them alive. This card just skips Tempai. This card just does so freaking much, and is one of the most, if not the most underrated board breaker, I think, in this format. Then I decided to main deck another board breaker, because like I said, this deck likes to break boards, and it can play through interruptions, but you want to minimize that anyways. And this deck can't, don't get me wrong, this deck can OTK, but it doesn't need to. It wants to establish dominance and front runner to win the game. And the best way to do that is cards that just completely turn off boards to allow you to play, to where if you turn off the board, the only thing you got to worry about is hand traps, because without it, you have to worry about breaking the board and worried about hand traps. But the board breaker obviously is Dark Ruler No More. I decided to run this because if you look at our main deck, and if you have any idea, like, or if you've played this deck, this version of the decks at all, you can see while playing the deck likes to break boards, construct, destroying stuff, app clone, turning stuff off permanently, aerial banishing stuff from graveyard, prevent follow up, flip effect of Squamata, the pop, dragon, the bounce. List goes on. Super Poly to break the board. Everything likes to break the board, and this card is catastrophic against Yubel and against Snake Eyes now that they run the Azamina cards. So they just play into these 6 so hard, both decks do. So if you draw any tangent of these with your engine, you're pretty gassed out. So like basically you need this, any of these with a starter and an extender, and you're fine. You're really golden. You really are, because you're gonna there's almost impossible unless they open like 3 hand traps and plus the board, then you're pretty much going to break and rip through their entire board. This card is absolutely nasty in the main deck right now. I'm so happy that I added it. I got the idea from watching one of Pac's last videos when he was talking about like it was one of his decks before last. It's the one where he played all board breakers with like 3 talents, 3 this and 3 something else. He said something that really resonated with me, and he was like, it was when he played Yubel, I believe. It was when Sam won Cancun or whatever. He said in the video that if he could break the board, then he was pretty much winning the game or something like that. So like and he was talking about that with Dark Ruler and droplets and stuff. And I was like, well, that kind of resonated with me, because I was like, well, Shaddoll's breaks boards easily, very easily. So I was like, okay, so if I can play Dark Ruler No More, now I needed something anyways, because if since I don't run hand traps, if I don't draw Bystial and I'm against Snake Eyes Azamina, I can't really play through. If they open 1 to 2 hand traps, I can't play through their negate, their D.D.D guy, and whatever else they got, plus the girl in graveyard and potentially Imperm Ash. Like I can't do that. So like I need stuff to help me break that board, to where, because like the way Snake Eyes is if you break their board, you're pretty much winning the game, because like they have nothing really left in the extra deck to kill you. Their deck is like a glass cannon, if you want to call it that, because like they make their board, and if you break it, you win. And I want to be able to break it and win. So that's what these do. Because like the way Shaddolls play, if you don't already know, or if you're unfamiliar with this version, while you're breaking the board, the Shaddolls do very good at being able to provide themselves follow-up and more interaction past that turn. So they do multiple things at one time. They're very good at multitasking. So Dark Ruler just really helps with that, being able to keep playing through that. And I'm sorry that I'm talking too much or I'm explaining too much. I know some people don't like that. I'm just trying to not really sell you on the card, but understand where the format is, where the format is going, and what Shaddolls need to do to be able to try to combat that. Last 2 cards in the deck, Foolish and Sacked by the Grave. You need to be able to stop the Furulos Mulch Army. And then this is an Upstart Goblin. It's an additional Foolish. It's a triple DD Crow. It's everything. I say it every time in all my videos. Extra deck. 40 to 41 in the main deck. Extra deck. Everything in this extra deck is absolutely mandatory if you're going to play this version of the deck. There's no real wiggle room. Just a heads up. One Moon Maiden. It's a light target. And you can turn your Mathematician into this because it's a level 4 or lower spellcaster. Gravity Controller, because this card comes up so freaking much. This helped me win a game against Kashtir because they summoned big XZ in the extra monster zone to free up space in the main monster zone. I just summoned this after they locked all my zones. I summoned this and then bounced it and got all my zones back and proceeded to break the board and win. Also, this being able to, if you don't open that optimal, this being able to at least set up Schism is really nice because it can buy you time. SP Little Knight. This card is mandatory, but if you do not have it, the only card that you could potentially swap this out for is Sky Striker Ace Azalea. Just know that you're not going to get not even near as much utility from it, and it could potentially lose a body because if you don't have 3 or more spells in the graveyard, then Azalea blows up. That's why this card is just so much better. It dodges targeting, it spot removals, it can banish from graveyard, it does too much. I understand this card's expensive, but if you want to play Shaddolls at the max potential, you got to be able to pay a little bit of money. I understand not buying into like Fuelos or Marcharmy or whatever. I get that because it's like $500, but this, I believe, last I checked was like $35, $40 for one card. So I get it. That's still out of some people's budget, but you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. That's it for the Link Monsters. I don't run Cross Sheep. After Appaloosa being banned and you can't really link off into Opti Masquerena, there's no real... you're not getting no real like advantage out of Cross Sheep. Yeah, you can summon back a Shaddoll, but you can't really book it so where you can get more advantage out of it. And whatever that does, you can just set up with Falco because you can set up a double interaction with Falco instead of using Windy to summon the Beast from deck. You can just use Windy to summon Falco. When they flip Falco will reset Windy. Windy will get you Beast, so you get double the bodies for that and prevent yourself from being OTK'd, basically. So it does pretty much the same thing as Cross Sheep does, just better now that Appaloosa's banned. Fusions, double Mommy, standard. Double the best one in the extra deck. One Winda, has Wind in the name. One Shikanaga. This card's so underrated, people never see it coming anymore. They're already shocked that you're running Shaddolls anyways, and when you summon this on them, they don't know what to do. They're like, what? And being able to negate stuff is really nice, plus plussing on your opponent's turn, and this is your target to dodge like Imperm Veiler on your Mathematician, so that's what this is in there for. And then if you end up running like Shaddoll Genius or whatever, that's another target for this too, so... that's it for the dolls. Every single one of them puts in work. You need multiple copies of App Clone because you need one to send with Nadir and you need one to summon. People running one really breaks my heart when I see people running one because it just you're killing yourself in the end. One Gregonol because Cartesia. Ironically, this is a super poly target too. I had a situation where this was like a super polyed to make this to push for game because Super Poly is like El Shaddoll Fusion basically. Had Cartesia on the board and I had Winda, but I didn't want to lose Winda, so I attack with everything. Super Poly, take Cartesia and the Winda, and then attack for game with this. It's pretty cool. Rest Super Poly targets indirectly. Mud Dragon, Garua, standard. Lulu Walleth because we can send this with Nadir Servant to summon Cartesia or Ecclesia during end phase, or we can banish the Gregonol to summon this, and this is an additional interruption / negate and buffs all your stuff to where after you buff your window, you're pretty much definitely not losing that game because it becomes a 2700, and this is just an additional layer of interruption because every single thing in the deck and extra deck replaces itself. If you're new and haven't heard me say that before, Chaos Angel, this card is a problem. Once you make it, you pretty much seal the deal. Definitely if you have Window in the field too, because they can't deal with both. Even if they're running Goddess, they can't deal with both. Definitely after we make this with Light and Dark, we have so many different ways to make this with Light and Dark. It's insane. There was one situation last week at Locals I actually made this with just Dark. I used Beast and Window to make it. And then use Window to add back the Resh, and then use this to banish a card. And then I couldn't necessarily push for game, but the setting the Resh to summon back the Window sealed the game for me, basically. Because it just basically, yeah, they can play, but it's denying them a battle phase. And if they can't go to battle phase, all my stuff replaces itself. So no matter how much they try to break my board, they can't do much under Window. And even if they go to battle phase, attack over the Window, it's going to always replace itself, and there's not much they can do with the meta decks wise. There's not much they can do to deny my follow-up. And then the most valuable card in the entire freaking extra deck is Typhon. This card puts in so much freaking work every single deck right now plays into it, and this is a board breaking deck, as I mentioned millions of times. You could probably turn it into a drinking game. I've said it so much. This is just epitome of what this deck is, and it breaks the boards, and there's nothing really in our deck besides Chaos Angel that plays into it. But Chaos Angel, it doesn't stop Chaos Angel's protection effect because this denies the activated effects, and Chaos Angel is a lingering effect for the protection or whatever. It's like summoning effect, mechanic, whatever. But this is another one that's not replaceable. This card is not that expensive anymore. You should be able to get a copy of it. With it having a secret rare, this card is just phenomenal. Being able to put it on top of a Shaddoll fusion monster, if you need to, or a to be able to detach to bounce and then Shaddoll fusion monster replace self-activated effect or whatever, is just absolutely nasty. But that's it for the extra deck. Everything in the extra deck I said is mandatory besides potentially the SP, but I still think SP is mandatory because you get too much utility out of it. Onto the side deck, because this is what the deck, a tournament deck. Side deck, I am running 3 Thanos. If I had the money, this would be Furulos. If you have Furulos, then run Furulos in the side. It's a better side deck card than main deck because it's only good when you guarantee to go second, and it can draw into your non-engine. If you use Furulos and you bricked up or whatever, then and you use it and you don't draw into anything, then you're pretty much negging yourself. This is my poor man's Furulos, and this also protects from targeting. So, another thing too. Another MVP of last week at locals was 3 Mind Control. I used this to take a Vanities Ruler, and it was pretty funny. 3 Droplets. Droplets is self-explanatory. I don't need to explain anything further really on that. Moving on. Fuck Tenpai and all the rogue decks like Centurion and White Forest. Just says no. That's what I want to do, is I want to tell them no. And then I was sitting there looking through my binder the other day, and I was like, get ready to take another shot because I'm going to say it again. I was like, all right, this deck likes to break boards. All right. And I was sitting there looking through my stuff for another card that I was going to put in here in this card's place, but I saw this card and I was like, dude, I completely freaking forgot about that card, dude. I forgot about it. I forgot about it even existing or anything. And I was like, dude, that's insane. Definitely with the way our deck is built and the cards in our extra deck. And that card is Ultimate Slayer. Definitely post Rage with the way Snake Eyes sits. Them not being able to respond to this card is absolutely cracked because we run Xyz, we run Synchros, we run Fusions, and we run Links. Granted, we get more benefits out of Synchros and Fusions, but the main things problematic cards people are ending on right now is Synchros and Fusions. Yes, the Caesar or whatever that people end on as an XZ, I get that, yes, whatever. But these 2 cards, or any of our Shaddolls, like Abkalon, this is basically an extra Nadir Servant. So sending any of these is like super impactful, and you're breaking the board while starting your engine at the same time. Like I mentioned before, which pairs well with Shaddolls because Shaddolls, like I said before, replace themselves and start their engine rolling and provide themselves follow-up as you're breaking the board. So pairing a card alongside an engine that already does that is just it's a no-brainer. Definitely in a format where people play hard into this. Tenpai playing a turn skip Buster Blader version now, so this being able to out their Synchro or their Fusion is just nasty, so then you just proceed to break their board. Obviously Snake Eye and other rogue decks. This card's just so good. So freaking good. But that's it for the deck, guys. I'm sorry this video is longer. I just wanted to explain some extra things about Rage of the Abyss and stuff like that. There's nothing at all I would change with the deck. The only thing I kind of scared about my side deck is I'm not running Cosmics, and I'm worried about Cosmics, honestly. But I think that's just me being adapted to playing Cosmic and having spot removal or something against like a Runic deck or something. But I don't know. It could be just Copium. But other than that, I like everything else. Extra deck is mandatory. I mean, yeah, extra deck is mandatory. You can tweak or some things if you want to fit your play style in the main deck. I personally wouldn't. You could run Genius if you want to, make it a 42 card deck or a 41. I can't remember where I'm at. I think I'm at 41. It would become a 42. I'm not running High Spirits anymore because I kept bricking on the daggone card, and I'm tired of bricking on stupid cards. So, yeah. And I wanted to keep the deck count down. Who knows? Future builds, I might add it back. Obviously, I said the same thing about Shaddoll Fusion, and I ended up adding it back. So, but right now, I don't feel like I need it. There's enough consistency in the deck. Definitely with the side deck helping out with consistency and stuff. But yeah. Other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you all wreck the format with Shaddolls, and let's just punish the meta sheep with the best deck, baby. Shaddoll best deck. But again, I love you guys so much, and I appreciate if you made it this far into the video. It really means a lot to me. Make sure you hit the like button if you haven't already. Share it with your friends. Subscribe if you're not already as well. Bell notifications so you never miss an upload. Check the description for all the ways to support me. It's your boy Brendan, aka Drip from D.D.D. Sign out till next time. Peace. Good dueling, my guys. Love you.